Good night, Narita.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
Give me a
Monica.
second. Let me disable this meeting room. Um, just one sec. And okay, that's better. All right, I'll just give the others maybe 2 more minutes. I should probably tell them in the group that I'm actually on. Okay, good night, everyone.
Good
I'm just going
night.
to put the worksheet on screen, but I think the other guys should be able to join in a minute or so. Even if they're not, the recording is going to be available for anyone who wants to revisit it. And for this session, it's like a working session. It's not like the normal sessions where I'm just talking through. If you have any questions at all, feel free to just jump in, interject, stop me if I'm going too fast on any aspect of the worksheet. There are some formulas in parts of the sheet, but I'm going to take my time walking you through those.
All right, no problem. Sounds good.
Okay. Let me share screen. And we'll look at the spending tracker first, and then we'll look at the financial statement. The reason I'm taking that approach is because from the previous email, one of the tasks or the assignments coming out of that was for us to each create our own personal financial statement, personal, your financial report card, if you will. Um, what is it? Right. And so that is supposed to help you in terms of determining what your current financial circumstance or situation is, and then subsequent to that, helping you in terms of charting a path forward. And this is supposed to be tied to those financial goals that you'd have set for yourself, which is another one of the assignments coming out of module one. All right. Where is it? Uh, come. Oh, you guys can tell me when you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, man, we can see it.
Okay, great. All right. So this is the um your spending tracker. I've kind of dubbed it my money tracker. Um, when it comes to creative names, I'm not the most adept. My English prowess tends to show up in other areas of life. Um, but when it comes on to creatively naming things, no. All right. So you're presented with this, the cover page. day one, which is another sheet, so spending day one. And then you have the budget at the end of it. We're going to focus on the budget as the very last thing. So let's start out with this sheet. The cover page, you can actually update the date here. I think this, and you can put the name here, if you'd like. The crux of this meeting, though, is for me to walk you through how I update this. So, today being payday for me, and perhaps for some of you, it's a good day to really start tracking my expenses. And the reason for that is because it allows me to start tracking from day one. So if I look at payday as the day that really refills the kitty, then I can start to track from that day all the things that are going to come out that are effectively taking money out of the till. And I look at that as something that I would do on a daily basis to kind of get a good sense of where all my money goes. So starting with the very top of the sheet, let me put today's date here. And let's assume that I got paid today. And oh, by the way, here, these are drop downs. There are a few different accounts here. If you don't see your financial institution in this drop down, what you can do is go to drop downs and you can add it in this table here, and it will show up as part of that. So for example, I don't have JMMB. So let me put, I think this might require a bit more changing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert it above here. The reason is because this is absolutely referenced. So let me just copy this one. So I'll insert it, copy this one, change this one to 7. The Excel savants might be able to do this a bit more efficiently, but for those who aren't, so I change that and then I'll update this to JMMB bank account. And now if I go over here and click on the drop down, there is JMMB bank account. All right, so that's how you would update these drop downs, and it will flow through for all of the places that the drop down appears. So let's start with day one. So let's say I get paid today. I can put my description here and say full-time salary. And here I'm going to put the net amount that hits my bank account. So for most of us, you get a direct deposit or you get a check. So what you would put here is the actual balance that is on that check or that is on that deposit. So let's say for me that is 350,000. All right. So that would effectively complete the income part of it. If you have other income sources, oh, let me also change this and say that it goes to my Jane bank account. Something that I should have mentioned earlier, but it's not too late to mention it now. Going down to the account balances, what I typically do is these would be the starting balances as at this day. So let's say, for example, if I were to count, and I do this, by the way, if I were to count all of the cash that I had, whether in my wallet, in my bags, in the car, in some drawer, or hidden underneath the mattress, I would put that sum here. So let's say for me that is, well, it's payday. So I would assume that I would have used up a lot of the cash. So let's say I only have $7,500 at the end of that, at that today in physical cash, right? The other one, what I would basically do to complete these is just look at my statement balances prior to this amount, to this salary hitting. So if my statement balance, if I log into my online portal and I see 125,000, that's what I would have here. These are hard coded in. my Sagicor bank account, let's say I use up my Sagicor a lot and I only have $350 there. And then for the NCB, let's say that is my main savings account, and I have $65,000 there. For Scotia, which I don't use, this is actually accurate. It only has $106 in there, and that is JMD. If there are US accounts, what you can do is convert them using the prevailing exchange rate and add them here. Another thing, you notice I only have the institutions here. I don't have like individual accounts. You can do that if you want to get that granular, but what I tend to do, and I might have overwritten it, is what I would just do is add all of the sums that I have across the different accounts. So for argument's sake, this 365,000, let's say it was split between four accounts. Let's say five of them has 20,000. So sorry, let's say there are five accounts. Each of them have, just for simplicity's sake, let's say each of them having 25,000. I would put in the formula here, 25,000 plus 25,000 plus 20 plus 25,000. You get the drift. So let me put that back to what it was. That's 75,000. So let me put it back to 365. So that's how you would handle multiple accounts across the different financial institutions. So that is your starting point for the balances. Under the credit card, some people have multiple credit cards. What you basically would do is just update this with the current balances, the current available balance and the current amounts due. So let's say at the end of this month, which is today, we're using payday as the end of the month. Let's say this had a balance of let's say I put only gas and stuff on this. So let's say it is at 19,000. I would then put what the available balance on it is. So I would just subtract the 19,000 from the 250,000. And let's say this one had a higher balance because I use it up a little bit more. Let's say this is 75,000. I would subtract the 75,000 from the 100,000 to tell me what my balances are. This one again is just, let's say this is another credit card. Let's say I got a new credit card. And then this was $50,000. Or it could be one of them prepaid debit cards. So let's say that was 50,000 and I didn't touch it. Ambitious, but yeah. Right. So my starting balances would be this sum for each of the accounts, this sum for the credit cards, and this is what I'm starting with. Now, let me zero these out so that we can start to see how it changes. So the only thing that came in was the 350,000 for me. Let me complicate that a bit and say I had a part-time employment that decided to pay me 150 US. So I would put the 150. I think the exchange rate is now 160 or 161. So those are the two incomes that would have come in. This is just a sum. So you just do equal sum and you highlight all of these. So you had $374,150 come in today, which is day one, your starting point. So now what we're going to do, let me zero these two. So that means the only difference between these two balances ought to be that $374,150. All right. So if I were to just double check it, there we go. $374,150. And you notice my credit card balance hasn't changed as yet. Okay. All right. So now with the expenses. So today, despite it being payday, I would have had to spend some money. So let's say I spent $1,300 for lunch. Typing that in the wrong place. So the expenses go here. So let's say lunch, and I can describe it or put a rationale there. So if I tend to explain my spending to myself, you don't have to do that, but I do. It kind of helps me on the qualitative side to find out if I'm wasting money. But yeah, so let's say lunch was $1,300 today, and now I want to identify which account I used to actually pay for that. So let's say I used my NCB card to swipe to pay for that. So I would go here and I would select NCB bank account. What will happen in the template now is that you will see, where did these monies go? You will see the NCB balance decrease. So this is that complicated formula I was explaining earlier. I kind of want to skip it, but I won't. But effectively what it does is it looks at your income and see if anything goes to the NCB account, and it adds that amount. And then it looks at your expenses, so everything in here, and it looks at if anything was expensed against the NCB account. And it will do that for every account. So it will subtract that amount. And it does that for every account to give you your final balance. So let me make this a little bit simpler so that we can see it a bit more clearly. So initially I said that lunch was paid for from the NCB account. Let me change that to say I paid for it with cash on hand, so from my wallet. So you'll notice initially I started out with $7,500 in my wallet, and now I have 6,200. That difference is the amount that I paid for lunch. Let me also throw this in. Let's say I lent, who am I likely to get money from? Let's say I lent a friend some money, right? And he decided to pay me back today. So he gave me $1,500, and that was in cash. So if I add that here, what will happen is that it will then go as an expense against, sorry, it will go as an income towards the purse or wallet. And so net for net, what would have happened is I would have earned $1,500, spent 13, so I would get a net $200 on the amount. And that's what this formula is effectively doing. So it will do that for all of your accounts. So having said that, let me continue now and complete this page so we can move on to the second page and what that would look like. Okay, what's another big expense? Mortgage. So let's say as I get paid, the mortgage is also paid. And that would come from the Jane account. So let's say the mortgage is $92,000. And that comes from the Jane bank account. So you'll notice now that the Jane bank account is reduced further by 92,000, although 350,000 would have been added to. So the net of that, we can calculate it and just make sure that the formula is working. So we would have initially had in the Jane account 125. We would have earned 350 that was added to it, and then we would have paid the mortgage from it, which is this 92,000. So that 382,000 that is now left in the account is what is shown here. Everybody get that? And guys, you can tell me if I'm
Yes.
over-explaining or mansplaining. I tend to do that. And I'll ask the
I'm on
forgiveness at
par.
this point. Okay.
Same here. I was just trying to replicate it on my tracker.
Oh, of
That's
course.
exactly what I'm doing too.
Yeah.
Again, apologies. I did say if I'm moving too fast, please slow me down. But yes, going forward, if I'm moving too fast, slow me down. All right?
No problem.
Okay. All right. So we understand how this balance gets here and how it's being updated. Effectively, what I did up here was to just show you how the formula is working. Everything that I talked through, I'm going to slow my speech. Everything that I talked through in this formula is being done programmatically here. All right, let's add a few more expenses. Everybody on the same page?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's add a few more expenses. So regular expenses. What else did I pay for today being a work day? I might buy gas. So let's say that was $2,500. And let's say that came from, well, I have money in Sagicor. No, that's great. Um, so I could, well, let's not do that so fast. All right, let's say I paid for it from NCB, yeah? So I put NCB count here, and that would be expensed against the NCB account. All right, let me throw one little spanner in the works now. Well, there are two that I'm going to throw in, but let's start with the first one. So first spanner, let's say that I'm paying for the internet today. Just got paid, feel rich, I can pay most of the bills, and I want to get them off my head. So the internet, this is flow. You know what? Let's not say that. Right. So the internet is what now? $5,500 basically. And I'm paying for that from going to pay for that from I want to do something. All right, I'm going to make one little change to this, and you can make the change on your side too. I want to pay for this from my credit card so that we can see the credit card funds go down. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to add the credit card. So I'm just going to put credit card one, and I'm going to put Sagicor credit card here. A point to note, and you'll notice this when you start to use it. If for any of the facilities that you add here, so if you add a NCB credit card here, you have to make sure that the name or the text that you put in here matches what you put in the drop down, or the formula won't work. All right. And if you guys make any changes to it and have any issues, just reach out to me. I'll fix it and send it back to you. All right. So that aside, let's say, so we saw initially where the credit card balance was, why is this wrong? Oh, I know. Don't need it. Where the initial credit card balance for Sagicor was 231,000. And I would have made a $5,500 payment from the Sagicor credit card. All right. Let's go down and see. This should have changed. So that's another change I need to make. Sagicor bank account, Sagicor credit card. This actually should have updated. Not sure why it didn't. All right, so I will fix that. Let me do it another way just to show you how it would change. Let's say instead of an expense, so I'm going to delete this one. Let's say, given that I just got paid, I'm going to now make a payment towards my credit card. So I had $19,000 due. I decided, okay, I'm going to pay it off and avoid getting fees or interest charges. So in this section, credit card payments, what I would do, well, first, let me check if I have enough money in Sagicor. And I do. I'm going to show you what I do if I didn't have enough. So let's go. We're making the payment towards the credit card. I'm putting 19,000 towards it. You see this come up as an expense as well because it is reducing the Sagicor bank account balance. So the Sagicor bank account balance now goes down to $5,500. And why is that? Because I got $24,150 added to the initial 350, but I'm expensing 19 against that. So the end result is that that $19,000 gets added to the available credit for the credit card, bringing me now right back to my limit. So when I start tomorrow, my available balance on the credit card is going to be 250,000. We're clear?
Run it back one more time.
No problem. All right. So current state of affairs. Let's start out with that. So initially, the credit card balance is 19,000. So that's the only thing that I would need to pay to clear my credit card balance. So that's the current balance due, right? The limit is 250,000. The available credit is 231,000. So because I just got paid today and I have this balance, I don't want to have any interest charges on my credit card. So what I'm decided to do is that I'm going to pay the credit card balance. So what I would do is I would come to this section, credit card payments, and I'm going to select credit card, Sagicor credit card here. I'm going to enter the amount that I'm paying to it here, which is at 19,000. And here, I'm going to make sure I'm selecting the Sagicor bank account, which is the one I'm paying from. That doesn't mean that you always have to pay it from the Sagicor bank account. You could pay it from any bank account, right? Depending on how you deal with your credit card. So let's say you make your payments over the counter, you might have pulled cash from somewhere and then gone to the counter. So that would count as cash in hand that you would then have used to make that credit card payment. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. So the consequence of that now is that because I use the Sagicor bank account, my Sagicor bank account balance, my initial balance, is going to go down by that 19,000, right? But but you're seeing the initial balance here as 350. So how did I make that payment? Let me put this back to zero, and you'll notice that there is there's actually $24,000 available in the Sagicor account. And the reason is because I got the part-time salary payment to that account. All right. So when I am going to need to change this. When I make that payment of 19,000, it reduces the 24,000 now to 5,500 and increases the credit card available credit back to the 250,000.
Make sense?
Yes, I'm on par now.
Okay, great. All right. So because this thing is going to end in 9 minutes, let me see if I can go through one more spanner before we move over to day 2. And I'll show you guys how to do day 2. I'll probably start a new session for that. All right. So the next spanner I'm going to throw in the works is in this area. I just got paid, but I need money. I need to add my savings, right? So what I'm going to do, remember, I had said that NCB is my long-term savings account, right? Sorry, I keep jumping all over the place. But NCB is my long-term savings account. So I want to add, say, 10% of my salary to NCB. There are 2 transactions I need to record if I really want to capture everything that happens with my money. The first transaction is the transfer. So in here, I have this section called inter-account transfers. And that allows me to move money from one account to another account. So I have the receiving account here, which is where I'm putting the money. I have the description, which tells me how I'm sending the money, the amount, and then the source account, which is the amount, which is the account that it's coming from, or the institution that it's coming from. That's the first thing that I need to update. The second thing is I need to account for fees. And those fees, depending on which financial institution you use, will apply on either one side of the transaction or both sides of the transactions. I will explain. So I want to make my savings. So I want to put my savings amount over to NCB. So for me, that's about 50,000. I'm going to go to inter-account transfers. The receiving account is NCB. Before I do this, I want you to note the NCB balance prior. So the NCB balance right now is 362,500. When I do this transfer, this balance is supposed to go up by 50,000. So it's supposed to become 412,500. And the JN bank account is supposed to go down by 50,000. So this should then be 333,000. All right. So let's do that transaction. So I'm sending money to NCB bank account. I am sending 50,000 to NCB, and I'm sending it from my JN bank account. So the amount here is 50,000, and the source account is JN bank account. All right, so let's see if what we expected to happen happened. And indeed it did. So now my JN account has 333,000. My NCB account has increased to $412,500. So that means the transaction has effectively been made. The second thing I would record is the fees. So I know that if I'm sending money, and you'll probably get this on your statement, but I know if I'm sending money from Jane to NCB, and I'm using ACH, it's going to cost me $17.17. If I'm using RTGS, it's going to charge me, I think it's $220. And on the NCB side, they're going to also charge me about $50 plus tax. So because I'm using ACH, quick tip here, if you want the cost of sending money to be lower, always use ACH once the sum is less than $1 million, and always do it before 12 p.m. So this one now is the bank fees for this is $17.17. And this is going to be charged to the Jane bank account. And so this 333,000 is reduced by $17.17, giving us the total of $332,982. Now, I'm going to do one more transfer. And the reason is because just got paid, I need some cash in my hand because I only have $7,500 and I might need cash to do whatever whilst I'm on the road. So the next transfer I'm going to do is going to be to my purse, or in my case, to my wallet. So I'm going to pull $30,000 from my Jane bank account, and I'm going to put that as basically cash that I'm keeping on hand. So this would go to my wallet or cash on hand. And it's coming from my Jane bank account. So that's the description. I pulled 30,000 and I pulled it from the Jane bank account. So what should happen? My cash on hand should go up to 30,700. My Jane bank account should come down to 3,200. And because it's JN, they don't really charge me for withdrawing cash at the ATM, at least not yet. So that transaction is free. If I were to go back, it probably would cost me another $50. But yeah, that would effectively be all my transactions for today. So tomorrow now, to get to tomorrow, what I would do is I would make a copy of this sheet. So I would duplicate it. And I would call it day 2. And when I restart the session, I'm going to show you guys how we update this. It's effectively the same thing, but the major change is that for this side of it, all of the previous balances should be set equal to the current balances as at the previous day. I'll explain that more when we start talking. And it will make logical sense. So to start out tomorrow, I'm just going to go here, copy out all of my current balances, and I'm going to put them as previous balances here. So I can just paste these here. Don't mind the changes that you're seeing happening. And the same thing for the credit card balances. So I'll just put my available credit here. I don't think the others would have changed. So, all right. So that would be the first thing I do. The next thing I would do is zero out all of these. Sorry?
For the one that you copied just now, shouldn't you have just deleted the 19,000 instead?
Oh,
For the
I'm going to
credit
get to that. I'm going to get to that. But no,
Oh.
you do need to copy it over physically. I'm going to show you why. All right. So tomorrow, no, I don't expect any money to come in. So everything here is 0. And then I'm going to zero all of this out because I haven't started capturing tomorrow's expenses as yet. How will I know if it's correct? Oh, let me zero these as well. And this is where I would delete that money for. Set that to 0. And how would I know if it's correct? My previous balances should be equal to my current balances because I haven't started recording any transactions for today as yet.
Oh, okay.
All right. So